Come closer. The shadows have missed you, and tonight they have a new story to tell. Welcome to Scary Stories After Dark. By the time we realized the girl wasn't playing dead, she was already floating face down in the lake. Her body drifted just beyond the dock, limbs slack, black hair fanning out like ink. One of the younger campers screamed so loud it echoed off the trees like a gunshot, and for a second nobody moved. Then chaos erupted. Counselors shouted over each other. Kids were herded away like panicked ducklings, and someone dropped a tray of corn dogs onto the wood planks with a sickening splat. The sky stayed cloudless. The lake didn't ripple. I stood barefoot, popsicle melting in my hand, brain locked up like a dial-up modem. The smell of sunscreen mixed with the sharp metallic stink of the water. I turned to Jethro, who hadn't blinked in 10 seconds. His hair stuck up in all directions, and his Camp Scylla counselor shirt was still damp from swim duty. "Okay," he said finally, voice too calm. "Definitely not the wet and wild I signed up for." I blinked. "Jethro, did we just watch a girl die?" He scratched his chin like he was trying to rewind reality with his thumbnail. "I mean, unless this is like an extremely committed improv bit. Yeah, we did." The head counselor, a walking human whistle named Bree, was barking orders and trying to do chest compressions on the dock. It looked desperate and too late. Someone had radioed the main office, and the old camp van was already bouncing down the hill in a trail of dust. I took a shaky breath and whispered, "So, first day?" Jethro gave me a crooked grin that didn't touch his eyes. "Welcome to Camp Scylla, where the lifeguard's blind, the lake's cursed, and the corn dogs are lethal." We'd only been here 6 hours. 6 hours. The van that dropped us off hadn't even cooled down when we unpacked our duffel bags. The cabins smelled like moldy pine and childhood trauma. We'd barely had time to roll our eyes at the oversized wooden sign by the lake that said, "Welcome to Camp Scylla, home of summer legends." In smaller letters underneath, "Please swim responsibly." Now there was a corpse and a crowd, and that weird silence that hangs over a group when death shows up uninvited. Later that night, when the campers were locked in their cabins and the local sheriff had driven off with a blank expression and no answers, we sat around the counselor's fire pit pretending things were normal. Spoiler, they were not. A few of the other staff were already hitting the boxed wine hard. Jethro passed me a can of warm soda and gave a sarcastic little toast. To us, the future victims of the summer slasher. I laughed, kind of. Don't joke. This place is giving serious Camp Crystal Lake energy. Jethro leaned in, mock serious. "Okay, but if we hear a hockey mask dragging on gravel, I'm bolting. Screw horror movie rules. I'm the first one gone." "No, you're not," I said, smirking. "You're funny. The funny ones die second." That's when she showed up. Her name tag read Bunny in loopy handwriting with little hearts over the I that wasn't even in her name. She had platinum blonde hair in a bouncy ponytail, pink nail polish that sparkled in the firelight, and legs that looked airbrushed. She plopped down beside the fire like she'd been here forever. Hey, you guys okay after the lake thing?" she said, chewing gum with the confidence of a horror final girl who hadn't read the script yet. Jethro blinked. I'm sorry, Bunny." She giggled. "Nickname, real name's kinda boring." "Oh, gotcha. You, just get here?" Bunny tilted her head and stared into the flames. "I've always been here," she said softly. Then she laughed again. "Just kidding. First year, you guys are new too, right? I'm assigned to waterfront cleanup. Love the water. It's like my happy place. She didn't blink much. Her smile was a little too wide, and when someone tossed a bottle of water into the fire to make it hiss, she flinched like it slapped her. After everyone peeled off to their cabins, Jethro and I lingered behind on the dock. The moon made the lake look like a black sheet of plastic. The air had that weird temperature drop, just cold enough to feel like the night was holding its breath. I swear to God, Jethro muttered, if we find a logbook that says this place was built on a burial ground, I'm throwing myself in. I looked back toward the empty lifeguard tower, the one with the splintered step, the one where the drowned girl had climbed down not even 12 hours ago. Do you think it was a serial killer? I asked. He didn't answer right away. Then, nah. I turned. Really? He stared at the water. Rainy, that girl didn't scream, not once. You ever drown before? Can't say I have. You would scream, you'd thrash, unless... His voice dropped. Unless something pulled you under fast. And that's how day one ended. A dead girl, a wide-eyed camp counselor named Bunny who seemed to love the lake a little too much, and a feeling in my gut that something under the surface was watching us, not with hunger, but with patience. We weren't supposed to be awake that late. Technically, the counselor curfew was 11:30. No campfires, no lake access, no unauthorized ghost stories that might scare the kids. Bree even handed us laminated bedtime rules like we were sleepaway toddlers. So naturally, we broke every one of them. Jethro and I were lying on the roof of cabin 6, listening to frogs croak and staring at the sky like it owed us answers. His old Walkman balanced between us, crackling a mixtape labeled Midnight Screams Volume 2 in his terrible handwriting. Bowie, Skinny Puppy, a sprinkle of The Cure for Flair. Explain to me again, Jethro whispered, why we took this job at Murder Camp, Lake Edition. I popped a stale red vine in my mouth and mumbled, college credits and the promise of a free tan. Lies. I've gotten 2 mosquito bites and mild PTSD. You've also stolen 5 popsicles and developed a crush on the goth girl, so I'd call it even. He gave me the finger without looking away from the stars. Don't mock me. Lola is mysterious and emotionally damaged. It's hot. The silence between us stretched, thick as syrup. Somewhere in the dark, a loon screamed, and then something rippled across the lake. It was small at first, just a soft lapping sound, like a hand gently dragging across the surface. But the water was dead still. No wind, no boats, no fish. The ripple moved toward shore, then stopped. Jethro sat up fast. Did you see that? I froze. See what? There was something in the water. I laughed nervously. A fish? He looked at me, dead serious. That wasn't a fish. That was long and slow, like someone was crawling under the surface. We both stared into the dark stretch of lake beyond the trees. I don't like this, I whispered. Jethro leaned close, voice low. This is where the teens die in every horror movie, Rainey. This exact moment. We should be running. Yeah, and yet... we're the dumbasses who stay to investigate. We dropped from the cabin roof and crept down to the dock. Each step on the wooden planks echoed too loud, too hollow. The air felt wrong, thicker, like it was pressing in on us. Then we saw her. Bunny, sitting at the very end of the dock in her pink windbreaker, barefoot, ankles in the water. staring out like she was waiting for something. She didn't turn when we approached. "Hey, Bunny," I called gently. She jumped. Her neck jerked toward us too fast, too stiff. For a second, I swore I saw her eyes glow. Then she blinked and the weirdness vanished. "Oh, hi guys," she said cheerfully. "Didn't mean to scare you. I couldn't sleep." Jethro leaned close to me and muttered, "Same girl who flinched at water bottles is now night swimming in Murder Lake?" "Nope, not passing the final girl vibe check." I tried to smile. "You okay out here alone?" Bunny nodded, smiling just a little too wide. "The lake makes me feel safe, like it's hugging me." Behind her, the ripple came back, just past her dangling feet, small, then long, then gone. Jethro grabbed my wrist. I didn't breathe. Bunny didn't flinch. "I'm gonna stay out here a little longer," she said, turning back to the black glass water. "The lake sings if you're quiet." Jethro and I walked away in silence, skin crawling. Back at the cabin, Lola was waiting in the doorway, arms crossed over her oversized flannel, dark eyeliner smudged. "You guys hear the whispering too?" "What whispering?" I asked. She pointed toward the lake. "I was sitting out there before curfew, journaling. Swear I heard someone call my name twice from the trees." Jethro made a face. "Okay, we're officially in a Goosebumps episode." "No, dude," Lola said, voice flat. "This is like full-on Stephen King Jr. varsity." She hesitated, then added, "Also, I saw Bunny." We waited. She was already out there, and she wasn't wearing shoes, but her feet were dry. The next morning, one of the junior counselors quit, just packed her bag, walked up to the office, and left without telling anyone. Bree tried to play it cool at breakfast. "Nora had a family emergency, totally normal, everything's fine." But her smile was brittle, and the coffee pot was shaking in her hand. Later, Jethro and I checked Nora's bunk. Half her clothes were still there. The weirdest part, she left her shoes sitting neatly at the end of her bed, wet, like she'd walked out of the lake barefoot. There wasn't a file, not a clipboard, not a sign-in sheet, not even a laminated schedule with her name scribbled in highlighter like the rest of us. Bunny didn't exist, at least not on paper. "I triple-checked," Jethro hissed, dropping into the mess hall booth like he'd just robbed a haunted bank. "She's not listed, not on the roster, not in the staff housing chart, nada." Across from him, I blinked. So, maybe her real name's not Bunny. Okay, fine. But even aliases show up somewhere, Rainey. There's no record of her anywhere. Who the hell hires someone with no paperwork? Camp Scylla, apparently. He tossed a sticky counselor lanyard onto the table. Found this in the bottom of the admin desk drawer. It belonged to last year's waterfront cleanup lead. Guess what? Also vanished halfway through July. I stared at the badge. The photo was water damaged, the name smudged, but the face. I leaned in, blonde, wide-eyed, smiling a little too much. That could be Bunny. "Yeah," Jethro muttered. "I thought so too. I think she's been here longer than this year." Later that night, Teddy didn't show up to Counselor Circle. That was weird. Teddy never skipped Counselor Circle. He was the sweet one, the shy rule follower who'd once asked Bree if he needed a signed permission slip to toast marshmallows, and, more importantly, he was kind of obsessed with Bunny. Okay, not kind of. Full crush mode, hard eyes, tripping over his own feet level infatuation. The last time anyone saw him, he was walking toward the lake with her. We searched for an hour, too, flashlights swinging through trees, calling his name until our voices cracked. Bree finally said he probably went home sick, but she wouldn't look us in the eyes when she said it. The weirdest part? His stuff was still in the cabin, everything except his shoes, sitting neatly by the dock, wet. 2 nights later, I woke to a sound, not a scream, not a voice, just dragging, like something heavy and wet sliding across the grass. I crawled from my bunk, heart pounding, and peeked through the slats in the cabin window. At first, I thought I was dreaming. Bunny, in her pink windbreaker, walking barefoot toward the lake, her head twitching, a weird, unnatural angle, like it was too heavy for her neck. Her arms dangled like rubber, fingers brushing the dirt as she walked. She didn't look human, and when she stepped into the water, it didn't splash, it just accepted her. "I'm telling you," I whispered the next morning, pacing in front of the cabin while Jethro brushed his teeth with bubblegum toothpaste. "I saw her. She didn't walk, she glided, like one of those old animatronics at Chuck E. Cheese that gets stuck mid-animation." He spat. "I hate how specific that is. And also, I believe you." "You do?" Jethro looked deadly serious. "Rainey, I know you. You don't freak out over nothing. And I've been saying something's wrong with Barbie the Bloodsucker since day one." I winced. "You think she took Teddy?" "I think," he hesitated, "I think whatever Bunny is, it wears people, like a skin, like a costume." I froze. He added, "And I think it's getting better at it." That afternoon, Bree handed out new counselor flyers, updated photos, emergency contacts, happy smiling headshots with everyone on them. Everyone except Bunny. Her spot was just blank, like the computer glitched. No photo, no information, just a rectangle that said, "Name unknown, nickname Bunny." When I asked about it, Bree gave me a look like I'd just asked if the lake could talk. "Some paperwork went missing," she mumbled. "No big deal." Her hands were shaking. That night, the lake whispered. I woke in a sweat to the sound of my name, carried on water. "Rainy, Rainy, Rainy." I pressed my face to the window again. Nothing. Then I saw it. A trail of wet footprints leading past the cabin, heading into the woods, and at the edge of the trees, standing unnaturally still, Bunny, smiling, not blinking, not moving, just waiting. We tried to leave, no joke, packed our bags, threw everything into Jethro's rust bucket Honda and peeled out of Camp Scylla like the final act of a slasher movie. Problem was, we never made it past the gate. The dirt road looped. I don't mean it felt like it looped. I mean we physically passed the same warped sign 3 times in a row. Scylla Nature Preserve, home of summer legends. Same snapped branch, same gum wrapper, same dead squirrel. Each time, Jethro white-knuckled the steering wheel tighter. "Map says we're moving in a straight line," he muttered, voice cracking. "But we're not." "Nope." "Cool," I whispered. "We're in a hell loop." "Yep." We turned back. By the time we got to the staff cabins, the sun was down and fog was rising off the lake like steam off a coffin. Bree was standing on the dock, barefoot. Her face was blank, her shirt soaked down to the hem. Her mouth kept twitching like she was chewing on invisible words. "Where did you go?" she asked. We needed air, I lied. She didn't respond, didn't move, just stared into the lake with pupils blown wide and voice hollow. You can't leave. The lake doesn't like it when people try to leave. Jethro and I exchanged a look. His lips moved silently. We need to go, now. But then Bunny stepped out from the fog, dripping wet, wearing Teddy's sweatshirt, still smiling. Miss me? She chirped, as if this was just another game of tag. I swear to God, something shifted in her face, just for a second, a ripple across her skin, like something underneath was trying to push out. That night, we broke into the record shed. Old paperwork, faded rosters, water-damaged incident reports stuffed into rusty filing cabinets. Jesus, Jethro muttered, flipping through the folders. You know how many counselors have died here since the 80s? How many? He looked up, pale. Too many for it to be a coincidence. Some years, it's just one. Other years, it's 3. Every summer, someone dies. I pulled out a newspaper clipping, yellowed, smudged. Tragedy strikes again at Lake Scylla, 3rd drowning in 4 years. Camp officials suspect foul play, no arrests made. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the photo beneath the headline. A counselor, smiling, waving by the lake. Blonde, blue-eyed, ponytail, wearing a pink windbreaker. My hands went cold. Bunny? No, Jethro whispered. It's dated 1989. We stumbled out of the shed, shaking, breathless, like we'd seen a ghost. But that would have been better. Ghosts don't wear new faces every summer. Ghosts don't pretend to be your friends. Ghosts don't feed. The fog that night didn't roll in. It bled in, thick, oily. It clung to the trees like it was alive. It muffled sound, dulled light, and soaked our clothes with invisible damp fingers. Rainy, my name, again, whispered from nowhere, from everywhere. Rainy. We followed it, flashlights cutting through mist like butter, cold sweat on my neck, my heart beating too hard, too loud. We reached the dock. The lake was bubbling, slow, lazy boils like breath from something massive beneath the surface. Then the footprints appeared, wet, human-shaped, moving up the dock, but no one was there. Jethro grabbed my arm, hard. We need to go. And then her voice, behind us, sweet, perky, dripping with something darker than blood. I don't like when people sneak around. We turned, Bunny, standing barefoot in the grass, skin pale and steaming. Come back to the cabins, she said, voice trembling with faux hurt. It's dangerous out here. Jethro stepped in front of me. What are you? She tilted her head. Don't be rude, Jethro. Her smile stretched just a little too wide, like her face wasn't made for smiling, like it wasn't hers. The first thing to rot was the air. It started that morning, hot, thick, metallic, like something dead was festering in the fog. Even the birds were silent, no chirping, no rustling in the trees, just stillness. It felt like the world had paused to watch. We didn't go to breakfast. None of us did. Me, Jethro, Mason, Lola. We locked ourselves inside cabin 4, windows shut, every flashlight and pocket knife we owned stacked in the center of the floor like a last-ditch shrine. I saw it, Mason whispered, his massive wrestler frame hunched in the corner like a child. I woke up at dawn, looked out the window, thought I saw Teddy. I froze. Teddy's gone. Mason nodded slowly. Yeah, I know, but I saw him. Same face, same sweatshirt. He was standing at the edge of the lake, grinning like someone stuck a hanger in his mouth, but his eyes... He swallowed. They were black, like oil, and his skin was moving. Moving? Jethro asked. Mason's voice cracked, like something underneath was wearing him. We didn't talk for a long time after that. Lola sat on the floor, carving something into the bunk frame with a hairpin, a little protection sigil she swore she learned from her Wiccan aunt. It looked like a fishbone and a question mark having an argument. Jethro paced like a lion, running one hand through his hair until it stood straight up. We're trapped. Everyone who tries to leave disappears. Everyone who stays ends up, what? Swallowed, copied, skinned. Don't say skinned, I muttered. It makes it worse. You think we're dealing with a serial killer? Mason asked. No, I said, we're dealing with something worse. We found Bunny again that afternoon. She was standing ankle deep in the lake, unmoving, her back to us. Still, like a statue, her reflection on the surface didn't ripple. Jethro whispered, we shouldn't be here. But I stepped closer. I needed to see her, needed proof. Bunny? She turned around. Her grin was too wide. Her lips cracked at the edges like wet clay, and her eyes, those cheerful blue eyes, were leaking water. I used to be someone, she whispered, voice warped like it was passing through a drain pipe. Once, a long time ago. I backed away. What are you? She blinked, or tried to. I am what the lake made me. Then she smiled wider, and something long and slick shifted just beneath her skin, crawling along her collarbone like a trapped eel. We ran. That night, the counselors that were left, me, Jethro, Mason, Lola, gathered in the arts and crafts shed like it was a fallout shelter. We have to fight back, Lola whispered. We can't just wait to be picked off. With what? Glitter glue and macaroni? Jethro asked. No, with fire, she said, dead serious. We stared. I found something in the old counselor journal, she continued. A story. From 1979. One of the original staff wrote that something lived in the lake, something ancient. They called it Scylla, like the sea monster, said it feeds on youth, joy, identity. Every summer it rises and takes a new form, sometimes a camper, sometimes a counselor, always someone beautiful, always someone loved. Jethro was pale. It's not just Bunny, it's the lake itself. I nodded, and she's the lure. We made a plan. We were going to burn the dock. It was the place she always returned to, the heart of the curse. If we could trap her there, surround her with fire, we could force her into her true form. We kill her, I said, voice shaking, and maybe we break the cycle. Jethro held up a half-full can of bug spray. You think off. Deep woods is flammable? Only one way to find out. We lit the fire at midnight. The fog clung low, the air thick with gasoline and sweat. We stood at the edge of the dock, torches in hand, waiting, and then footsteps. Wet, heavy, Bunny. She stepped out from the mist, pink windbreaker soaked, hair plastered to her cheeks. Her face was glitching, smile too wide, jaw clicking open and shut like a puppet's. You don't have to do this, she said. Her voice had two layers, hers, and something deeper, something watery. I raised the torch. You're not Bunny. She tilted her head. Not anymore. Then her skin peeled. It unzipped like wet fabric. What stood before us wasn't human. It was tall, too tall, limbs warped and boneless, hair like algae, eyes like underwater headlights. Her mouth opened wide, wider than a head should, and from inside came a scream that wasn't sound but pressure. The dock shook. We threw the torches. Flames erupted, swallowing the planks, the figure, the fog. She shrieked again, voice cracking like thunder underwater, and leapt backward into the lake with a splash that sent a geyser sky high, and then silence. We stood there for what felt like hours. The dock smoldered, the water stilled, no bunny, no monster, no more screams. Jethro finally whispered, "Did we do it?" I looked out at the black glass lake. I don't know. The lake didn't bubble, it boiled. The next morning, the surface churned like something just beneath was furious. Ripples pulsed from the dock's remains, black smoke still snaking from the charred wood. The air smelled like wet rot and melted plastic. Every counselor left had a nosebleed before noon. And Bree, she was gone, vanished from her cabin, no note, no sign of struggle, just her whistle, floating in the shallows. Jethro and I didn't talk much that day. There was too much silence in the trees, too much static in the walkie-talkies. The campers had been evacuated the moment the fog rolled back in, bless them. They'd never see the thing that lived under Scylla, that wore us like costumes. We stayed, because someone had to end it, because Bunny hadn't screamed her last. That night, it rained, not soft summer rain, but sheets, like the lake had risen into the sky and was pouring itself back down in rage. Thunder cracked like bones breaking in the dark. We stood at the dock ruins, soaked to the skin, holding road flares like knives. Mason had left hours ago. He couldn't take it anymore. Lola was missing. We already knew what that meant. And then she came back. Not as Bunny, not entirely. She stepped from the water slowly, deliberately, like a bride walking down a church aisle. Only she was bleeding from the mouth and wearing the skin of 1,000 voices. The pink windbreaker hung shredded off her back. Her body was longer, dripping black water. Hair plastered to her face, eyes glowing with that hollow seafloor light. "You burned me," she said. The words slithered. They echoed beneath her voice, deep and ancient. "I let you live," I said, shaking, raising the flare. Jethro added, "Your makeover's crap, by the way." She twitched, her limbs cracked, then she charged. We scattered. The dock exploded beneath her feet, water spraying in every direction. She screamed, a noise like 100 drowning girls calling for help. I felt it in my spine. Jethro grabbed my wrist and we ran, into the trees, flares lighting our path like blood trails. She chased, fast, too fast. I saw her limbs shift as she ran, legs bending the wrong way, face sliding side to side like wet wax melting off bone. "You've been here too long," I shouted over the wind. "Let her go, let her go." She stopped, just long enough to look at me, and that's when Bunny's voice, her real voice, broke through, barely a whisper behind the monster's snarl. "Help me." I froze, but Jethro didn't. He threw the flare, directly into her chest. She ignited. Her scream cracked the trees in half. Fire bloomed up her arms, catching the forest like dry paper. She writhed, twisted, her skin sloughing off like seaweed, revealing something huge, gray, and glistening beneath. Tentacles? Bone? I couldn't tell. She fell back, into the lake, and this time she didn't rise. The flames died with the rain. The woods fell quiet. The water still. It's been 2 weeks since Camp Scylla burned. The papers called it an electrical fire, blamed it on lightning. No mention of Bunny or Lola, or the things we saw beneath the surface. Jethro and I don't talk about it much, but sometimes, late at night, I still hear the lake calling. Sometimes I dream I'm back on that dock, looking down into the black water, and I swear, I see her eyes.